All right, so we can get started on a very mellow FounderQuest After Dark episode.
You are in a maze of twisty little passages, all alike. Time to start a fire, crack open a can of Tab, and settle in for FounderQuest.
So you may not be surprised to hear this, but I've been doing a lot of shopping for electric vehicles this past week.
Oh,
Oh yeah.
And there's some new electric motorcycles and scooters coming out that are very, very tempting. Like there's one in particular, this Sondor's model, which is going to be first released near the end of the year. And it's only $5,000 and it has a top speed of 80 miles per hour.
wow.
The battery is not really rated for doing 80 miles per hour very long. Like you're not going to commute for 20 miles at that speed, but it's nice to have that, in case you just need to hop on the freeway to get someplace really quick. But
Yeah. That's only $60 per mile per hour.
but I really got my eye on it. And my wife's not a big fan of the whole motorcycle idea, but it's been there at the back of my mind for years. And this year might be the year that I actually get my 2-wheel endorsement and, do the training course and all that.
That would be fun.
I just didn't want another combustion powered vehicle. And so I've been holding off on the whole motorcycle thing until we got electric motorcycles that were not crazy expensive, but also not just useless because it only has a battery for 5 miles worth of range.
Yeah.
And I think 2021 is the year.
Is this going to be your big 2021 post-pandemic life change?
Exactly.
Nice.
Yeah. Maybe this is my midlife crisis. Actually buy that motorcycle.
You should get a hog though. I could see
the live wire is really nice. That's Harley Davidson's electric, but it's $30,000, and I have qualms about spending as much on a motorcycle as I would spend on a car.
Yeah.
Maybe that's not the right way to look at it, but it's just I have problems with that.
I'm seeing you with some of the those with the trike handlebars or whatever.
Like a chopper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if the electrics have the same cachet, because I'm trying to figure out if all the Bruce Springsteen songs still apply to the electric motorcycles. Would you call an electric motorcycle a suicide machine? It seems a little bit too environmentally friendly for that. So I'm not really sure.
Ben totally needs an electric chopper. You'd be the first.
Well,
I don't know. So I go on walks. I'm sorry. I go on walks in the morning, and occasionally an electric car will pass by me because it's Seattle and there's a couple of them. And it always feels so sneaky. It feels like they're just sneaking up on me because I just hear this low whine just come. And the next thing I know, it's right behind me. It just feels like they're sneaking up on me.
Yeah.
I don't trust that Elon Musk fellow.
Eventually you'll be just hearing that whine throughout your entire walk, just constantly.
Yeah.
Yeah. The state of Washington, I think they recently passed a law that prevents any new combustion-based cars from being sold after 2035. I think that's what it is. So yeah, the clock is ticking, man.
Pretty wild. Are consumers going to go for it?
I think so.
I think they
so.
will.
But for those who don't know, the reason why it's kind of an inside joke is I've been interested in electric powered vehicles for a very long time, and Starr and Josh are well aware of.
As long as I've known you, as long as Honey Badger's a company.
Honey Badger was actually going to be a electric vehicle company initially, and then we pivoted.
Yeah, we really chose wrong with that one. That was a really bad decision.
Yeah.
It might have required a little more capital than we put into our initial business.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's my week. I've been shopping for electric bikes all week.
This has been another one of those weeks where I don't remember where it all went and what I did, but I know I did a lot.
That's sort of the pandemic life, isn't it? I mean, you've been doing all the contracting stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you've been doing the PHP, the libraries really had some improvements this week. That's been
really we're cool. Almost to zero issues, including
awesome.
Enhancements and features. So, although I've got a few that I'm going to be creating, so now we can get on to the fun stuff. Adding new things.
Speaking of enhancements, we had a really awesome customer just this morning, who sent us a request for new functionality in the Ruby gem to be able to notify the API of deployments. And, we didn't have that code in the gem for like a Ruby app to use as a consumer. We had a command line task for that, but it wasn't exposed as code. And so I wrote back to the customer, I'm like, no, we don't have that, but I'll create an issue in GitHub. And, if you want to open a PR, wink, wink, go right ahead, And like, I woke up this morning and there's the PR. I'm like, wow,
isn't that great?
All right. Yeah. And he tested it in his app. I'm like, well, that's pretty awesome. We have the best customers. We really do.
That's awesome. So why are we paying people again? Let's just make it all like community maintained.
This was a related thread and a couple of tweets going back and forth this week on Twitter, and people talking about like, well, developers are a terrible market. They don't buy anything. And, a number of entrepreneurs are like, oh, I beg to differ. They actually do buy things. And yeah,
they don't buy things, but their employers buy lots of things.
Right. And they definitely are interested in not spending their time on things if they can realize that there's a way to, get something that's a quality product. And they are the best customers because, when they file those bug reports, it's like so easy to fix them. It's great.
I never get that argument. Like we buy a lot of things. Like
we do
buy things all the time.
Yeah, we do buy. So I wonder if it has to do with like the age of the developer. Like if you're around like 20 something developers, like early 20s developers who don't have jobs.
Like 20 somethings don't buy anything.
I know.
Period.
Money, but like,
they buy like Netflix and iPhones.
Yeah, but as soon as they get like get one of those sweet startup gigs, like they're buying freaking like $200 fidget spinners.
Don't they have company issued fidget spinners? Are they working for that sweet startup?
Probably. Yeah.
Is that like the new like retirement gift, the gold fidget spinner? Like the gold watch?
Yeah, they give it to you when you're 30.
Oof.
Ouch. One thing I actually did do, I guess I got a little bit of work done this week. I spent some time working on moving our stack so that we can more easily have Docker containers running it. So, we currently use VMs for everything, but we really want to have an on-prem version. And we're most of the way there. But one of the things is we want to make it easy for people to deploy. And so we think that doing so with Docker images is the way to go versus giving a customer like, here's a bunch of Terraform that you can run and spin up a bunch of VMs. I think people will be happier with Docker images. So I've been moving a lot of our cron jobs from just cron on the box to Sidekiq-Cron, which is an extension to Sidekiq that inserts another poller. So Sidekiq has a poller, it's running your background jobs and it's like polling on, I don't know, every whatever seconds to see if there are, new things to do and to spin off and stuff like that. And so the Sidekiq-Cron is a gem that adds another poller that looks for cron jobs that you've defined in a particular configuration and then runs Sidekiq jobs for those things. So I've been converting a bunch of rake tasks to Sidekiq jobs and it's pretty nice. I like it. It does, avoid the problem of having multiple boxes running the same cron job at the same time. It does have that, ability, which is the prime thing that we need since we have, clusters of VMs running. And we were using Consul to coordinate that before. But we needed a solution for inside of a Docker container. And this seems to do the job.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. Happy. Do recommend.
I wonder what else Sidekiq can do for us.
I don't know. Gotta be good to wash the dishes. That'd be pretty cool.
It already is a lot, doesn't it? That's kind of like the center of everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah. We use, Sidekiq batch for the export jobs because export jobs do a lot of work. And so we split that into a bunch of little jobs and combine them all with a Sidekiq batch. That's been pretty cool. Yeah. Periodic jobs, exclusive jobs. Yeah. It's all good.
I guess this has been a pretty boring week. Like I'm, like I've been working on just like writing a bunch of article descriptions, which is like it's not very fun to talk about. It's just like, it's kind of boring work, which is why I put it off for so long for so many of these articles. And now,
for the rest of the podcast, why don't we just have you read them?
Let's read them.
You just go down the list.
I'll share my one life hack though that I figured out. my life hacks are spelled with a Y. So the thing about publishing an article, the thing about like we pay people to do these articles, right? They give them to me. They're done basically, but then they're not like ready to go on our blog because our blog uses a static site generator. And so I've got to like, add front matter to them. I've got to write descriptions. I've got to make sure they actually render okay in our, particular version of Markdown that we accept and all that stuff. And there's like a million steps to this. And so I figured out, I was like, one of the things that made me sort of procrastinate on this is because it would just kind of stress me out that I always felt like I was forgetting a step in this, or, even if I wasn't forgetting a step, I was worried that I was forgetting a step. So what I eventually did is I just made like a checklist of about 10 items or whatever. And I put that checklist in TextExpander. And so now when I want to like publish an article, I just like do my little TextExpander snippet. With TextExpander, you type in a little keyword into whatever app you're using, and it just pastes in a predefined snippet. So I can just be like, do my little keyword, and it pastes in this list of 10 things into my to-do list. And then I just check them off as I go through it. And it's so much less stressful doing it. And also the other thing that I found is really useful about this is that sort of before I had this kind of system in place, when I had to start working on one of these article descriptions, I don't know, like it just seemed kind of overwhelming because I would start being like, okay, I've got to read this article. I've got to figure out what it's about, because I have a lot of articles in progress. So I forget the details about individual ones until I'm looking at them. And it just kind of seemed overwhelming. But now with this process in place, it's like, okay, like all I have to do now is run my image optimization script in that directory. So I can do that. That's a mechanical thing. It's no big deal. It's like, okay, all I need to do now is I need to go fix the Markdown lint errors in VS Code or whatever. And it just makes it so much easier to kind of get into it. And by the time I've like done all these mechanical tasks, it's like, oh, I remember what the article is about. And now I can actually write the description. So it kind of is like bootstrapping into this task, which I find kind of useful.
That's cool.
That is cool. Have you considered using GitHub Actions for things like, doing the image squishing and stuff like that?
Yes, I would definitely like to set up Markdown lint to run as a GitHub action, just because like some of this stuff like should really be caught at the time that the author pushes it, not by me. But for the image stuff, like, I don't know, like, yes, but also I'm just like, well, I don't know, like, I just don't know if I want that run every time. Like, it just seems like there would be some sort of complication there. And so it's just kind of scared me off from it. Maybe it wouldn't be that big of a deal. But yeah, so the thing I'm getting at is like, okay, if like would I be interfering with the author if I just like, if they committed an image and they were just working on it and then like suddenly it's like, we compress this for you and change the dimensions of it. It just, I don't know, it seemed like it might get in the way a little bit, but.
Yeah, you can do actions just on like a pull request though. So you like while the author is working, they're committing and nothing happens. And then when they open the PR, then that action does the squishing. And stuff.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'll think about it.
I'm just trying to.
Image squishing is like, it's relatively easy.
Yeah, it's like 5 seconds of your job.
Or you could just use like some sort of image squishing CDN.
Yeah.
Those exist out there. They do them like in process.
I'd rather just run my little image squisher in the terminal because I know that shit works. And I know that it's not just going to suddenly stop working randomly on a Wednesday.
And then you have handcrafted squished images. I mean,
Netlify actually has that built into it. I think you might need to use their file storage service. It's built on top of I think it's called Git. It's a Git feature, Git large file storage, I think. But basically, it's a feature of Git that like your platform, like your Git provider can support, and GitHub supports it. So it's like a way of basically pushing, like managing large files inside of a Git repository. Because otherwise, like if you ever try to like commit super large files, say like videos or something to just a regular Git repo, it becomes very hard to manage. And it turns out Git actually has a feature that's specifically for that. But Netlify supports that through. So if you push, I think if you manage your media through that, then you can actually use their, they just have like an endpoint that you can use for your images that like has parameters where it automatically does the resizing and cropping and compression and everything. Kind of like that thing you built at one point, Ben. What was it called?
Upload Juicer.
Juicer, yeah.
Yeah.
Same idea.
That's really cool. Like maybe for a more intensive use case, that would be good. I kind of like that I can just like preview the post with the changed images, and it's like I just don't have to worry about it working. It's very obvious if it worked, didn't work, or whatever.
Yeah, I looked into it at one point and it was a little bit involved to set up, which is why we don't currently have it.
Yeah. Like the image, like if the rest of this whole process could be as easy as the image squishing, like I would be in heaven. Netlify needs to have a service that reads the article and writes a
that would be you just push your just your title to it and it spits out the rest of the article.
Yeah, they just make the whole article.
The Markdown TextExpander process you mentioned, that's useful. Like that would be a useful process in Notion. I've seen people do similar things like with their Roam like notes or like personal knowledge system. Like anything that supports Markdown that will automatically like convert it into task lists or something.
Yeah. And I know something cool.
What?
This is actually very cool. I just like recently discovered it. Is that TextExpander can also paste in rich text. So if you want to, like if you use Apple Notes or something and you wanted to do the same process and have it paste in things with actual checkboxes and all that stuff, you can just like copy that stuff out of Apple Notes and paste it into the TextExpander thing and then tell it to paste in rich text and it'll do it.
That's cool.
So it doesn't just have to be Markdown. Yeah. I happen to use Markdown for my daily to-do list, so that's what I use. But like it's actually pretty sweet.
Yeah, Ben and I use Alfred. I use the snippet manager in Alfred, don't you, Ben?
These days, more often than not, I use the built-in keyword expansion in Apple.
Oh, do you?
In Mac OS, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because my needs are pretty simple typically, so yeah.
I prefer the one in Alfred because I really don't like the text expansion. Like, and Alfred actually has like you can do a keyword search. So like you can search for just a quick fuzzy find on the snippet you're looking for. So like you can have your snippet library in there, and it does support text expansion. Like you can give it a keyword and say expand this, but it gives you the option not to. And I prefer I just don't. I don't like when I'm like typing and I accidentally type the wrong, make a typo and all of a sudden I have my text expanded. Or sometimes I don't want to, expand it.
All my keyword triggers in macOS have a semicolon as the prefix.
Okay, yeah.
So I can't have any accidental unless I'm typing a random semicolon for some reason. But
yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, but at the same time, then I'm like, well, that's like basically my Alfred workflow where I like have I do whatever command space for the launcher and then I just find it. So it's a couple extra keystrokes, but.
I'm conservative, so I have 2 semicolons as my.
It's like a pass.
I might be writing some JavaScript or something, but I'm never gonna have 2 of them.
It's 2 semicolons and a password that you change every couple months.
Yeah,
and as a single use token, you have to plug in your security key.
Yeah,
exactly. It's 2 semicolons followed by the MD5 of the current date.
The thing that's really cool about TextExpander, I used to use it and I loved it.
Yeah, me too.
Was it's not just plain text. You can do like fields and stuff. Like it's pretty advanced. So you can have it like you expand the text, but it has placeholders for you to go in and fill in some stuff. So you can put in like a name, or it can dynamically insert the date, and it can do all kind of crazy cool stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. I used to use it, but then I ditched it when they moved to their subscription model. So it's just like, this is a utility. I don't want to have to pay yearly for this, which I still think is kind of a valid thing. But, I tried a couple of the alternatives and then I tried this. I was just like, this is clearly better. And it's really not that much per year. So it's like, maybe, yeah, like I'll give it a shot. And like, I haven't actually upgraded yet, but I'm thinking I might.
Wait, you might pay for something? It's completely out of character.
No, developers don't buy anything. Come on.
I have like a lot of paid software on my Mac, come to think of it. Like I almost like prefer to pay for it these days.
Oh, me too. Me too. I prefer to pay for it.
It's like,
I know how they're making money that way.
Yeah. You know how they're making money. You feel like there might be some actual, like they actually care about like proactive support and maintenance and stuff. Not that, just regular open source software can't have good support, but, financial incentive does help.
Does. Yeah, it reminds me of that tweet from DHH when they were launching Hey, and someone tweeted like, well, how are they going to monetize it? And his response was, money. We're going to charge money.
What?
Love it.
DHH is such a radical.
Yeah.
I do admit also one thing I kind of like about TextExpander is because it's like such a hokey thing that like they've seemed to have like built into some like weird enterprise business. I don't even understand it. But I kind of like have a little fondness in my heart because it just seems like, I don't know. It seems like a chipmunk somehow entered the Wimbledon and is winning or something. It just makes no sense to me, but I kind of am glad that it's happening.
The story with that was that like after you downloaded it and they had your email, they sent you some like enterprise sales, like let's hop on a call type email, right?
Oh yeah.
Is that what happened?
Like, oh, I see somebody else like in the Honey Badger domain also has an account with us.
Yeah.
Let's see about how like we can make this work like better for y'all as a team, so you're not just like doing individual stuff. Like it wasn't sleazy or anything.
Yeah.
It was a little bit weird and unexpected, but I didn't feel dirty by it. I was just like, I'm sorry, I'm just using this by myself, so you're not going to sell this like to my team.
Yeah, it's
like,
interesting
okay,
though.
Bye.
Yeah.
I added that email to my swipe file for when I start doing that for Honey Badger customers.
Yeah, it seems like something along the lines of what we could do is like, I think it's interesting that they identify that I forgot that they had like pointed out that someone else at the team had it. So like if you look for like flags basically, to figure out who you actually should reach out to and who you shouldn't.
Oh, yeah, that's much better than just scraping the email addresses out of our documentation site and spamming us. Like so,
yeah,
they're actually like ethically emailing people for sales leads. I think that
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of that, though, I had a great conversation with a mentor this week talking about sales and growth and things to do, and he gave me a bunch of great advice. But on the one hand, like I was kind of embarrassed, like because he was sharing some things that are pretty basic, kind of like table stakes for SaaS. I'm like, yeah, we could do better at that. Like, oh, we don't have it all, we don't have all of our ducks in a row. But on the other hand, like going over the numbers, like the business is great, and like as far as our revenues and our ARPU and our LTV and, all those things that you want to measure, all those numbers are good for us. And so it's like, well, you've done really well so far. If you continue to do what you've been doing and you add these other things that can improve on, well, then great, right?
Yeah, that's even better. That's what I've been thinking. Yeah, like
so I left talk to that person every now and then.
Yeah, I was thinking earlier this week that like if there is a risk in us, like because we all tend to get impatient from time to time and be like, one of us will. It happens like pretty. It seems like it's kind of predictable. Every so often, one of us gets the bug. It's like, okay, I gotta just like go and like just burn out on this, and I think that it's good to like get inspired and like want to go and like try new things and try to like move the needle. But if there is a risk to that, it's besides like the obvious, like just you don't want to burn out, is that if you get distracted from the things that are actually working and like stop doing something just so you can go and try to do some big look for some like big growth event or outcome. I think we want to make sure we don't stop doing what is working. We want to be consistent and systematic with that and look for new things to try that we haven't done before.
Yeah, which is a great argument for, building those systems like we've been doing. Right?
Yeah, things that run themselves.
Yeah, once you had that content system running like Starr has, then you don't have to put a lot of effort for that. Then you can go and look at those other things that you also want to do without dropping the ball
worrying.
On that.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. It's like, how do you juggle? How do you keep adding balls to juggle?
Right.
Yeah, that was the reason for doing the
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like I feel all guilty about that. But it's like I think there's this temptation to to be like, well, like I can do everything myself as well as like a team of full-time people working somewhere else could do. You know, I think there's that. I mean, I know I feel that temptation. And so I have to like remind myself that it's like, no, like I actually like do have limits to the amount of time and energy I have. And
yeah, I think the other temptation is to just hire someone to do it, right? Like, oh, this thing needs to be done. I don't have time to do it, so I'm going to hire someone to do it. And then all of a sudden you turn around, you've got 100 people working for you. And yeah.
You can do everything, you know, everything that like a team of 20 people in a normal company do. You can only do everything one at a time.
Yeah. Yeah. You can do it like 20 times slower.
Right.
And probably not as well because like your expertise is spread pretty thin at that point.
Yeah.
That's the slow growth approach to business. It's, you know, it's
very slow.
Ecologically sound because it's maintainable, right?
Oh my God.
because it's self-defeating.
I've got a funny story. So like with regard to like the stock market and all this, like basically all my life I've been like a perma bear. I've just been like, things are too wild. Like things are getting too crazy. And like, it just like keeps rising. And so recently in the past month or so, I was just like, you know, I did not jump on the whole like GameStop bandwagon. Like I'm not going to throw my money at that because that's just seems like, and just kind of at night, I've just kind of been reading books, you know, because like up until now, I've just been a very like, you know, I'm just going to put all my money in index fund, just forget about it. I also like, I read like thing about value investing a couple years ago. And then I tried to look at like companies like K10s or 10Ks or whatever they're called. And eventually I was just like, this is just an insane amount of work. And also I'm like, how am I going to get better at this? Because I don't know if I'm right for like 5 years. And so I just kind of gave that up. But anyway, so I mean, yes, like I would like to be able to retire one day, but like that's the motivating factor here is just like, oh, this is kind of interesting.
No. That's the best reason about imagine you could have like the 8 monitor array eventually at your desk for like monitoring different exchanges. Yeah.
No, I think that it's been pretty interesting. I've been reading some books about like I've been reading like one book by this really famous trader in the 20s, 30s. And he's like describing his system for sort of identifying pivot points and stuff in the market. And like nowadays, most people just use a chart because it's the easiest way. But this way is actually sort of like writing down numbers and keeping track of them and stuff. And I was like, oh my God, this is basically, you have today's price, you have yesterday's price. If this condition is true, like, you know, then the state changes from, you know, upturn to downturn or, you know, ordinary correction. Or, I mean, he had like this list of like, I think 8 states or something.
That's really cool. It'd be fun if you actually made that into a program and then, you know, wrote a blog post about it. That'd be pretty, I'd read that.
Yeah. It seems like there's much easier ways to go about things these days, but
well, sure. But, you know, it'd be fun.
Yeah, it'd be fun. It's called I think the Livermore Market Key. I think people actually have written blog posts about it, but they sort of did it overlaying it onto charts or something. So it's not quite like, this is so spaghetti. It's really hard for me to follow. And so it's like, I'm not even sure I just want to go there because like, it wasn't just like, it's describing a pretty like, make sure that you got all the different sort of conditions.
So did you try to use a state machine library? Because that's it sounds like
that was my problem. That was my problem.
That's the use case.
That was my problem.
Yeah, I forgot there's a gem for that, or more than one actually.
I was trying to roll my own.
Doesn't the financial industry isn't like Python, or is that the more popular? What do they use for like what's the popular language in like finance, like fintech?
Probably Python for like
or like C. No, probably like not C, but like
C++ for like
maybe they're moving to Rust.
All the weird
like what do the high frequency traders use? Yeah.
Oh, they probably use C++.
You think? Yeah.
Or Rust or something. Yeah.
So you gotta Well, I think it would be a fun project to go back like to the beginning of the stock market and take every single like person who wrote a book that had like their own theory of investing and like code a trading algorithm from it and then run them all in parallel and see which one wins.
Oh yeah. But the thing is they're not giving like they're not like giving necessarily mechanical things. They're like,
No.
like here's, it's like, so they're like, this feature should alert you, and then you should like look at these other factors and make a decision. It's not just like,
Okay, so
if
so just like get like a machine, artificial intelligence, machine learning thing, and just have it read the books, and then let those do the trading.
I'll use the AWS one,
and we'll see what happens. Because isn't that basically what high frequency trading is?
I forget what it's called, but there's it's like, it's not Trading View. That's just anyway. It's there is like an actual place where you can go. Will be hosted on this company's servers and will be fed in like the data as it comes in, and you can actually they will actually license it as a black box to hedge funds and people who have actual money. And I don't know how much like these people pay for. I think I'm more like a daily or weekly chart type of person. I'm not really like give me second by second stuff to feed into my AI that I developed.
They really love their like black boxes in fintech, it seems, and like dark exchanges, and they just want it all to be completely opaque.
Well, no, I mean that's just because that's for the author's like benefit, right? Because like you don't want to actually tell the people your algorithm, because then they'll just use it. They'll steal it from you.
That's true.
But I don't know. It'd be an interesting hobby.
This is why there's no like open source trading algorithms.
Anyway, it seems like we're about tapped out for topics, so maybe we should wrap it.
Sounds good.
All right, this has been FounderQuest. If you want, go and write us a review, and we will talk to you next week.
FounderQuest is a weekly podcast by the founders of Honey Badger. Zero instrumentation, 360-degree coverage of errors, outages, and service degradations for your web apps. If you have a web app, you need it. Available at honeybadger.io. Want more from the founders? Go to FounderQuestPodcast.com. That's one word, where you can access our huge back catalog of episodes. FounderQuest is available on iTunes, Spotify, and other purveyors of fine podcasts. We'll see you next week.